Hey everyone, Harry here. So lots happened at the final hearing for the January 6th committee. There was new evidence we hadn't heard before. There was some very strong summation. As always, they played it tight, precise, and persuasive. And I think, were careful not to try to say, we've decided, so everything's done. What they wanted to make it was, as they put it, a roadmap to accountability. So serving it up to DOJ, serving it up to the American people. There was one aspect that I thought was introduced and not really overemphasized on purpose, and that I think is really important. So I just wanted to lay it out for you. And that is the sort of first steps toward an eventual action under the 14th Amendment, Section 3, to bar Trump from ever holding future office again. So stick with me. This gets a little legal, but I think it's worthwhile. 14th Amendment, Section 3. Passed in the wake of the Civil War, says that people who swore an oath to the Constitution and then committed insurrection may not hold office going forward. And at first, scores of formerly Southern Confederate members of Congress were barred from serving on that basis. In 1872, Congress said, okay, a general amnesty now for those people. But of course, the constitutional provision remains in the 14th Amendment, one of the most important provisions that really altered the whole federal-state balance. And it still says what it says. But it's kind of a constitutional puzzle. And now, an academic one has become a super important practical one, how you effectuate that provision. Now, the provision is understood to state a qualification on the presidency. So there are 3 or 4 of them. That's all there are. You can't be under 35. You can't be foreign born. You can't have sworn an oath and then committed insurrection. So really, if someone were found to be 34, or as Obama was first accused by Trump of being foreign born, they wouldn't be qualified to be the president. How, however, would that lack of qualification actually, how would the rubber hit the road? Would somebody just bring a lawsuit in a local state court saying this person isn't qualified, and some local judge says, yes, that doesn't work, so Donald Trump can't ever run for office again? That seems like too thin a reed to balance it on. What about a conviction in the federal courts? Maybe. The trouble there is we know that Congress can't add to the qualifications that a president can have. They can't say, for instance, and you also have to have property or whatever. That's set out in the Constitution. So the question might be, is the actual federal statutory code for insurrection different from the constitutional one? If it is, maybe that wouldn't count. What about a congressional declaration? Well, the only time that the provision's been used since that amnesty I mentioned, about 100 years ago, it was used to bar a congressman who won election, came to the Congress, and Congress barred him under that. He was a socialist, and even though the good people of Wisconsin had elected him, they said, you can't sit. He had a re-election, he won again, they still said he can't sit. So that was effectuated because Congress said so. So there is a puzzle, as I say, and it might be some combination of Congress makes a declaration and a judge, or there's a criminal trial with beyond a reasonable doubt, all due process protections. You would think that if those are put together, it would be the strongest case, because after all, there has to be a way of effectuating this provision. It can't be a dead letter, but the risk is you would choose wrong, it would go to the Supreme Court, and they would invalidate it. Hey everyone, we're taking a quick break to ask you to take a second to like and subscribe. It's a quick thing that really helps the show. Thanks, and back to the video. All right, so I think what's going on here, and Jamie Raskin and Liz Cheney both refer to it, is they want the DOJ to charge him with insurrection, and they want to do it and have Congress make a declaration as well. Now, insurrection as a charge was the surprise of the four, or at least of the one of two surprises. Everyone knew the conspiracy to defraud the United States, the obstruction were coming, because those were things that had to do with Trump's conduct before January 6th. They were conspiracies involving, say, John Eastman or Jeff Clark. The actual charge of insurrection has to relate to the violence itself on January 6th. So you don't get a previous agreement because it just sort of happens and unfolds, and you need to tag Trump with criminal responsibility. Not so easy as the others, because one, he could say, as people charged with insurrection do, that was political speech. I have a First Amendment right to that. And he could say, oh, remember, I said peacefully. I didn't want the violence to break out. And what the committee said is, in those 187 minutes after the violence had broken out, he had a duty as president to take care to actually quell it, and he did nothing. So that constitutes aiding and abetting the violence, and violence is what insurrection is about. So it constitutes aiding and abetting is the same as a regular charge. All right, so take a step back, all these things coming together. First, a finding by the January 6th committee that he should be charged with insurrection. Second, they hope the DOJ picking up on the recommendation and charging him and convicting him of insurrection under the federal code, Section 2383. It certainly tracks the insurrection in the Constitution, but perhaps a court would find it's not the exact same thing. And then third, and this happened this week and hasn't really received enough focus yet, a Democrat from Rhode Island, David Cicilline, along with 40 other people, introduced a resolution to find that he committed insurrection, just to make that finding. So I think what's happening is when Jamie Raskin talks about the referral for insurrection, but specifically references that point in the Constitution, when Liz Cheney says he should be barred from future office, they are hoping to sort of start the ball rolling with their own finding that he committed it, hopefully with a DOJ charge and conviction, and with a congressional declaration. All of them together have to state the strongest case for Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, and therefore a future bar on holding any federal public office for Donald Trump, which would be a huge development and would take care of so much of the worry that these last many years have brought to the fore, and that's still with us. So there you have it. Think about insurrection under 2383. Think about the 14th Amendment, Section 3. Think about this declaration maybe coming from Congress, which they've introduced now while there's still time to pass it. And see if the future days and weeks don't get serious about trying to use the Constitution to bar him from office. So there you have it. There'll be a lot more about the hearing and really a lot more about DOJ where the action moves to. But I really wanted to underscore this insurrection point, which I don't think has gotten a lot of focus, but will in the coming days and weeks. All right. Hey, if Spirit moves you to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, please do. It helps us out. And while I'm mentioning it, our patreon.com Talking Feds, you might want to check that out. We have some really good one-on-one original content. And just tonight, in fact, is our monthly Q&A where Patreon supporters can ask me anything. But we don't take corporate money, have very few commercials. So it's a really helpful way to support us if the spirit moves you. All right. Thanks for that. Like and subscribe if you have a second. And until the next time, talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.